The world's goal is to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So how would the world look if we got everything right? And what if we make a mistake? Hey everyone, welcome to Maatins Vids. In today's video, we'll speak about how the world will look in 2050. So without further ado, let's dig right into it. When you research 1 year ahead, you can say something you think is reasonable, and you'll soon find out if you're correct. However, imagining the world in 2050, is it reasonable to look that far into the future? Well, I believe you can, since Hamish McRae did it in the early 1990s in a book called The World in 2020. Because there are some facts about the world of generation from now that we can predict with reasonable certainty. The number of people and where they will stay, for example. We may also be quite certain about the demographics and economic growth will impact the relative sizes of the main economies. Technological and political developments, on the other hand, are more difficult. We must rely on history and intuition and recognize that we will frequently be wrong. So it was rather easy to predict in 1994 that China would be well on its way to becoming the world's largest economy. It already is, in purchasing power parity terms, by 2022, or that Japan's aging population would cause it to turn inward. However, despite the development of personal computers and mobile phones, there were no internet browsers or search engines, making it difficult to predict how technology will change communications. And there was no iPhone until 2007. The digital device that, as Steve Jobs predicted, would transform everything. So what are the hopes for the next 30 years? Here are 5 projections for 2050. There will be 10 billion people on the planet, with the greatest demographic divide being one of age. Africa, and to a lesser extent the Indian subcontinent, are very young regions that will experience rapid growth and often chaos. Regions that are older, such as continental Europe and Japan, will be even more cautious and inward-looking. The EU will survive, but in a different form. Russia's rapidly dwindling population will put a stop to any worldwide ambitions. China will undoubtedly be the world's largest economy, but its aging and shrinking population will force it to shift its focus away from global domination and toward ensuring the security and comfort of its own citizens. The United States will continue to be the most lively, outward-looking, and prosperous region, effectively winning the global influence battle with China. The rest of the English-speaking world will follow suit, including the countries of the British Isles, which may have become a looser association. Physical proximity will become less significant than language and culture as unifying factors. Most of the world's 10 billion people will be able to live good lives thanks to technological advancements, but it will be a never-ending battle to limit and hopefully push back humankind's environmental impact on the Earth. All of the current challenges, such as climate change and habitat loss, will continue. However, just as the factory system boosted industrial efficiency, technology will bring efficiencies to service sectors. As a result, living standards will continue to grow. Middle-class people will account for roughly 3/4 of the global population. Their ideals, notably those of China's, India's, and increasingly Africa's vast middle class, will resonate throughout the developed world. America's intellectual leadership will be tempered by the ideas of the emerging world's considerably larger and similarly well-educated population. Future of work in 2050. If you haven't already retired by then, the working world will be a considerably different place than it is now. Workers' visions of the future range from a negative picture of robots stealing our employment, leaving us internally imprisoned indoors, surviving solely on Amazon Prime supplies, to a hopeful view of artificial intelligence removing repetitive jobs. This will allow humans to think, create, and act without never having to leave the house, thanks to improved teleworking and those really convenient Amazon delivery drones. Weather in 2050. Turning the global climate around is like turning an aircraft carrier, says Julian Emile Gay, an associate professor of earth sciences at the University of Southern California, Dornsife College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences. If we don't start now, we'll be in a really difficult situation in 2050. Emil Gay has spent his career as a climate dynamics expert trying to figure out what the future holds for the globe. According to him, the 20th century was the warmest in roughly 2,000 years. The warming trend began during the Industrial Revolution in the 1850s, according to data he analyzed from a range of sources, including ice cores, tree rings, and coral reefs. The world's highest temperatures have occurred in the last 100 years for the vast majority of the globe. He agrees with the majority of scientists that if the current trend continues, as physics predicts it will, sea level rise and droughts would make some parts of the world dangerous and uninhabitable. People escaping their homeland in search of a more livable climate may cause geopolitical instability. According to the World Bank, up to 140 million people could be displaced by 2050. Environment in 2050. We don't have to time travel to 2050 to see how climate change will affect the air. According to Antonio Bento, director of the USC Center of Sustainability Solutions and professor at the USC Price School of Public Policy and the Department of Economics, Los Angeles air quality exceeded federal safety criteria for 87 days in spring 2018. As the temperature rises, so does the amount of bad ozone. This ozone is not to be confused with the ozone layer in the upper atmosphere, which protects the Earth from the sun's rays. When pollution from cars and other industrial sources mix with sunlight, bad ozone formed at ground level. Temperature, sunlight, and heat waves all affect ozone, Bento explains. This means that when the temperature rises, the air quality decreases. It's one of the main reasons why climate change is putting people's health in jeopardy in Los Angeles. More days with temperatures above 90 degrees bring more ozone, asthma, lung damage, and mortality. Bento predicts that unless climate mitigation techniques and air pollution regulations are implemented by 2050, Los Angeles skies will revert to the soupy smog of the 70s. Oceans and water in 2050. Since the 1970s, the seas have absorbed more than 90% of the heat caused by humans. According to Dave Hutchins, a USC Dornsife professor of marine and environmental biology, much as on land, there is a transition going in the sea that will affect the global oceans of 2050. The ocean is warming, acidifying, losing oxygen, overfishing, and choking on toxins ranging from fertilizers to plastic, he says. Right present, nearly the entire maritime environment is under flux. According to Hutchins, the number of huge predator fish has plummeted, and roughly half of the world's coral reefs have died due to bleaching induced by rising temperatures. According to a report by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, most reefs may be extinct by 2050. Lifestyle in 2050. Academics have been so concerned with getting their climate change models right and analyzing broad existential concerns that they have failed to communicate how changes are already hurting daily life. According to Bento, that isn't the case now. By 2050, commuting, travel, shopping, eating, and housing may all have changed as people become more aware of their impact on the environment. Bento, for example, already owns an electric vehicle, but he wonders if he really needs one. Getting a car as a teenager was just such an obvious expectation for me, he recalls. And when the electric automobiles were introduced, I thought I was helping the environment. However, we are presently transitioning to new models. Perhaps we could have far better outcomes if we could transition to a more efficient system that integrates density of development with public transit and car sharing. What are your thoughts about the year 2050? Let us know in the comments section below. Hope you liked this video. If so, then hit the like button. Also, subscribe to Maatins Vids and hit the bell icon so you never miss any video. See you in the next video. Till then, take care. Thanks for watching.